Hello, YouTubers, and welcome back to another episode of Freedom Friday here on the Ohio Patriot Education Network YouTube channel. I'm always your host, Taylor Ohio Patriot, and for today's episode, we are going to talk about exactly why Vivek Ramaswamy must lose the upcoming May primary and why Amy Acton must lose the general election. Mostly it has to do with multiple reasons, the biggest among them being that these two pieces of shit should have never been in this race to begin with for the governor's office, because both of them should be in federal prison right now for crimes against humanity for the amount of Ohioans that they helped mass murder by creating the lockdowns back in 2020 and then doing other shady shit during that time period to incentivize the continuation of lockdowns to the point that Ohio was under a lockdown quarantine for 442 days when piece of shit Amy Acton went on record and was like, oh, it's going to be 2 weeks to slow the spread. And Vivek was literally on a board of director people that was a COVID response board, to which he is now trying to distance himself from, up to and including paying off Wikipedia to edit articles for him to basically try to deny his existence on these boards so that it is there. Not to mention the fact that Vivek is a total piece of shit in general. He recently went to Ohio State's campus this past week and was openly calling for AI data centers in the state of Ohio. He even went so far as to bring in piece of shit reality star Savannah Chrisley, whose parents were indicted on a bunch of different fraud charges and then given a pardon by Trump later on, probably because Savannah sucked Trump off behind the closed doors, is my guess, honestly. And mind you, this woman has no ties to Ohio. She is literally a Georgia resident, and yet came here to Ohio State, to literally bitch about how great Ohio data centers are and how Ohio needs the data centers and why Texas shouldn't get them and why all these other states shouldn't get them. And it's like, are you literally buying into these data centers, bitch? Like, because that's what it fucking sounds like to me, honestly. Like, why the fuck do you give a fuck so much? When, number one, you're not a resident of Ohio. Number two, you can't vote in this election. And number three, what the fuck business is of yours if this state does or doesn't have these things in it? So, yeah, there's definitely some backdoor fuckery going on there for sure, man. And it bothers me quite a bit, honestly. So, but there was actually a pretty good clip that came out on the Columbus subreddit here in the last day or so of Vivek basically interacting with two jackasses, which really it was just three jackasses interacting with each other is what it is there. Because you had Ramaswamy on the stage and you had this one idiot dressed as a clown in the question section people there is what it is. And he was trying to get his buddy dressed as a mime, and the mime was basically asking a question about stuff. And it was kind of funny because the question they were asking was about Acton being a so-called doctor is what it is, which how the fuck this bitch ever had medical lessons in the state is beyond me at this point, honestly. Again, makes you wonder how much fraud's actually happening here in Ohio at every single level as it is now. And it really got to the point now where I'm just pissed, honestly, dude. This is why, like, Amy Acton and Vivek Ramaswamy are two of the greatest reasons why we need to have automatic qualifications for people even running for office in this country, because neither one of these people should be in this race. They should both be in federal prison, literally on death row, for the amount of Ohioans that they helped execute through COVID shots and everything else for that matter. Specifically in Acton's case, it's not only the upwards to the COVID shots is what it is. It was everything leading up to that, where she literally allowed abortion clinics to help murder unborn Ohioans and genocide an entire generation of children, and claimed it was essential business at the time. And meanwhile, you had actual mom and pop shops that were struggling small businesses, whether it be restaurants or anything else like that. She's like, nope, these aren't essential businesses, but you got this abortion clinic over here is supposedly. So it's just complete and utter fucking nonsense, dude. And it really just shows like just how truly evil and demonic these people really are, is what it is then. So, but yeah, it makes sense why Vivek would be all about the data center stuff, because he has ties to Palantir, man. And that's who's behind a lot of the stuff. It's all the Palantir spying stuff is what it is there. And what they never tell you is that these data centers at most will employ roughly 10 to 30 people each when they're taking up giant swaths of our farmland that could be used for actually farming, I don't know, food and grain for animals to be fed that can then be fed to humans, et cetera there. Or, God forbid, how it's going to contaminate the fuck out of our water sources because they're trying to put fucking wastewater from these giant hellholes into our lakes and rivers and destroy our ecosystems there. They're trying to basically turn Ohio into East Palestine is what it is, dude. So, I'll tell you what, I'm not having it. Neither is everybody else for that matter. I was talking to my uncle about it this morning, actually. Or not this morning, this afternoon, actually. And he was confused by he actually thought data centers was a good thing. And I'm like, nah, dude, like, this is how bad they actually are. And he's like, oh, I'm glad you explained that to me. Because what he thought was it's actually like just a giant warehouse, like an Amazon warehouse kind of thing is what it is. They were employed like hundreds of people, whatever the case be. I'm like, no, dude, it's like this giant hub of just storage for servers and stuff like that. And then it's going to employ maybe like a dozen people or so is what it is then at max. Meanwhile, it's creating an environmental hazard and then some's what it is there. So, but yeah, he's like, yeah, it makes sense why Perry Township then wooded the fuck out of it then. They wood it down then. And that's another thing too, by the way, I want to talk about this whole thing with the data center stuff is what people don't realize is it's not just here in Ohio, it's across this country entirely. You have Zuckerberg, you have the people behind Palantir, you have all of these mass media sites, you have all of these various power brokers that should not be is what it is. I'll say it like it is right there. It's the unelected officials of the worlds, these globalists, if you will, that are behind all this shit. And what they are doing is they are literally sending lawyers into, I think that mosquito got me in the back of the neck there, so it is. For those that didn't see the last stream, apparently when I was bringing in my package earlier, a mosquito flew into my door into the apartment. Here's what it is. You know, that fucker's flying around here and apparently biting me at certain points now because my neck is really itching right now. Like, because it got bit there. But yeah, going back to what I was saying though about data center stuff. So basically what's happening is you have these scumbags from these giant corporations who are sending in lawyers to bribe various local state officials, what it is there in every single state, that'll put this crap in place. They then have these people sign these NDAs to where they can't talk about it because they were literally just paid off like $100,000 or $1 million, whatever it is. Doesn't matter, honestly. It's some amount of money to make themselves rich while fucking over the entire state of people is what it is there. And then they are basically making this backdoor shady ass deal that's completely illegal for that matter with these companies, not giving the voter base any input whatsoever is what it is there, and then wondering why people get pissed and want to beat the shove them in the streets of it is them. Which honestly, I'm surprised there hasn't been tarred feathers at this point over this kind of stuff. And I wouldn't be surprised if there was in the near future, honestly, dude, because really, like, America, you know, we were founded upon a nation of people taking justice in their own hands is what it is there, dude. And honestly, it's getting to that point again when you have everything going on recently, which is the amount of criminality being set free again. You have these activist-ass pieces of shit calling themselves judges in this country. They are letting these repeat offenders off the hook. In many cases, they're these young YNs and stuff like that that did like 30, 40 different felonies, what it is there, only to repeat offend again. You had one recently in Florida that I heard about this morning where it was, I believe this guy was an illegal alien, if I'm not mistaken. This black judge, female black judge, let him off, even though he said he was going to go do some stuff and be a literal child molester of small children, what it was there, dude. And then as soon as she let him off, he literally zipped it out of the state. There's what it was. Went to a neighboring state and killed, like, I think it was a 5-year-old kid or something like that. Then after the molesting the kids, what it was then. So, yeah. It's like, at what point do these people that are letting these fucking literal demons off, at what point are they charged with the crimes, dude? Like, that's my question right now, because they need to be charged with these crimes. So it is, dude. The same thing with people that are running for political power right now is what it is, dude. When you are actively shutting down a country, when you are shutting down a state, et cetera there, you need to be held to account. You need to be held crimes community what it is there, dude, because you literally took away people's last days with their family members. You literally took their family members from them at that point by sticking a fucking needle in their arm they did not need and injecting them with fucking poison to kill them. So it's just bullshit entirely, dude. These people are allowed to even really be alive at this point, honestly. You know, and that's what it is, dude. It's blood for blood at this point. It needs to be blood for blood. It needs to be blood justice at this point, honestly. It needs to be holding these fuckers to account, man. It needs to be making motherfuckers cock again. With a bunch of dirty-ass chicken feathers and hot fucking tar is what it is. So... But yeah, I did go vote today, though. Went down to Stark County Board of Elections there. It was interesting. There was maybe 8 or 10 people in there voting besides me. It was a lot of old people, actually. I think maybe there was one guy that was younger than I was, and everybody else was like probably 60 or 80, give or take. Like somewhere in there. It's like 60, 65, 70, 80. Which makes sense, you know, if you're elderly and it's like, oh, okay, you're out for the day or whatever the case, you might as well go over and vote, then early is what it is. Which is exactly why early voting should exist, is what it is there, dude. Because, again, you got people who are, you know, super old is what it is there. And, yeah, it's a sad situation all the way around. I actually saw an interesting one this afternoon when I was coming about to get my mail in. So, I don't know what's with these people that think they own the fucking place down there is what it is, dude. It's like, bro, you're a main thoroughfare. Because that's where the mailboxes are at. We're going to drive here and get the mails what it is there. You had the one jackass who is the apartment complex, who lives in the apartment complex that is like maybe 10 feet from the boxes there at most. His dumb ass had his vehicle outside. I don't know what the fuck he was doing, what it was there. I think maybe him and his like buddy were going someplace or something like that. But he should have had his vehicle like parked back in one of the parking places what it is there or whatever. Because it was stupid the way it was positioned anyway, because it should have been facing out and not in. And then there was somebody else that was coming forward, which I wasn't sure what the fuck they were doing, what was there, but it turned out what they were doing was they were actually there to pick somebody up that was in one of the apartments opposite that guy, because apparently the person in that one was some really elderly woman who had her walker, and it was taking her a while to get out of there because it was... I think what it was is I think it was grandma lives there is what it is. And then it was the grandson was helping out grandma to get out the door with her walker and stuff. And then you had the mother of the kid who was helping grandma get out there. I think it was the woman's daughter that was driving the vehicle as it was there. So, which I don't blame them because you're literally trying to park the vehicle right by grandma's place so she can easily get in the vehicle as what it is then. Since she's super elderly and obviously frail and weak and stuff like that, which I don't know why you would, like at that age, I'm not sure why you wouldn't have this woman in a home if that be the case then, or at least living with you if that be the case then, one of the two, like either in a assisted living facility or living at your place, one of the two there, so you can take care of her properly is what it is, not just, you know, living in some random apartment around here that she's obviously going to die in eventually, and then there's going to be a ghost in this fucking place is what it is then. So there's not already a ghost in the apartment behind me is what it is there, dude. There's an old man that died there 2 tenants ago that I found out about a month or so back now is what it is. And yeah, that's what I was hearing that whole time between the time that my current neighbor lady is living there now and that piece of shit Don was living there before that, after he had gotten evicted back in December of last year and all through January and February there, I was hearing weird noises and shit until Holly moved in March there, and I realized now what I was hearing was the old man's ghost literally fucking around the apartment there is what it was and making noise and stuff, including but not limiting to sound like he was opening the doors what it was then. So I need to I got that book about the haunted house stuff a while ago that I saw on Matt Maher's podcast there where it was how to investigate a haunted house. I still haven't got a chance to read through all of it is what it is. I guess kind of skim through a little bit there. So I might just have to go one of these days and just start reading through what it is there and see if I can't figure out what the deal is there is what it is, and maybe see if I can't figure out a way to help the old man move on is what it is then. Because I honestly think he's in this entire complex is what it is. I think like the walls don't matter if you're a fucking ghost is what it is, bro. because I've had, like, I'm sitting here certain times, and it's like specifically on this side right here, it feels like there's like some weird like coldness around my neck and body is what it is there. And it's never around my left, it's always around my right. There's what it is. So the only thing I can think is the old guy is just like ghosting through the wall and being like, "What's going on, brother?" So I don't know. It would be nice to just have something where I could, help everybody out here and just help the guy, move on, get his unfinished business finished with nothing else, and proceed on to the next life is what it is there, heaven or reincarnation, whatever it is, doesn't matter. But anyway, who the fuck is calling me? So I gotta get this real quick. My brother's calling me. All right, I got about 15 minutes. My brother's gonna call me back around 6:30 or so. I think, pretty sure that mosquito bit me in the finger, by the way. But yeah, anyway, going back to voting though. So yeah, voted for Butch for governor in the Republican primary. Voted for that Marcel dude for Secretary of State. Voted for Jay Edwards for, I believe it's treasurer. I think that's what it was. Then apparently there's 4 people that are running for our state Supreme Court on the Republican side, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that specific seat they would be facing off against incumbent Jennifer Brunner, who I talked about the other day. And Brunner really should have been kicked out of office back in 2022 when she started fucking with our maps back then, dude, because you had completely constitutional maps here for redistricting, and this bitch was literally like, "Oh, no, they're totally not. We're going to totally strike them down as unconstitutional," what it is there. It's like, the fuck you are, bitch. And we literally had to go through a whole court battle and get stuff done. Yeah, there's definitely a mosquito bite right on the back of my neck right now, dude. I just felt it with my finger. Damn. That thing is definitely alive. That's what it is. Where the hell is it right now is the question. It's a big motherfucker too. If you saw it earlier on the other stream, dude, it's got to be at least that fucking huge, honestly. Like, it's probably a damn size of a quarter, honestly. Maybe not quite that big, but like length, like size wise, like this is what I'd say, where it's all like legs out and like little sucker out and everything else like that there. I fucking hate mosquitoes, dude, so much. I don't know, I think of almost all insects, like with the exception of like, and again, there's like 30 different fucking spiders in this place right now, dude. Like, where you at, bro? Eat the fucking mosquitoes. Come on. So, anyway, but yeah, it's just a bunch of shit, honestly, dude. So, but yeah, my understanding is though that these people that are running for office, this Andrew King guy who I voted for, and then the people that are in the race, they're all trying to run against Brunner for that state Supreme Court seat that is there in the November election. So I voted for this Andrew King guy based on the fact that everything I saw from everybody else there. It's interesting too. You would think the Republican Party would have endorsed like one of the 4 people in this race, but they didn't endorse anybody apparently. But from everything I saw, this Andrew guy was like the only dude in the mix that was, because I think it was like him and another guy, and there was like 2 women or something like that all running. But with the exception of this one other woman who claimed to be like pro 2A, but I was never able to find anything on her based on any of her like judgments in the past, whatever the case be, if she actually had constitutional rights or not then. But from everything I saw from this Andrew guy, like he's basically like the lowest rung of 2A you can be, which is basically, I'm a lifetime NRA member and I support Buckeye Firearms, probably the worst 2A organization in Ohio when it comes to actually fighting for people's rights in this state. So I was like, yeah, might as well do, because at least the guy seems to be semi-pro 2A is what it is there, and hopefully he will win a pro 2A favor if something came to the Supreme Court in the future there that it is, the state level. But I don't know. For those interested why I give Buckeye Firearms shit, it's two reasons, actually. Most recently, they endorsed that fucking faggot Vivek, who shouldn't even be in the race to begin with, and so the NRA for that matter, because of a bunch of lobbyist assholes is what it is there. Not to mention, in the past, Buckeye Firearms has openly fucked us over. It was Jim Irvine that used to work for him there, and he was doing shady-ass backdoor deals with a bunch of anti-gunners in the State House to water down good pro-2A legislation to where it was basically nothing. And they never have gotten over that scandal, even though they fired the guy. But that's the thing, right? Like, why would you even hire the guy to begin with what is there, dude? Oh, yeah, it's because in reality, most of y'all at Buckeye Firearms are a bunch of ex-cop oath-breaking pieces of shit who put away a bunch of innocent people for various mishandling of firearms and motor vehicle laws is what it is there. That shouldn't have been on the books in the first place because you had constitutional carry way back then. But instead of you guys fighting for that stuff, you claim to be fighting for 2A rights, when in reality, you're doing just enough every General Assembly to basically make a grandstand and then sit back and collect a bunch of fucking money. Same thing with the NRA for that matter. They do the exact same shit. They'll sit there and claim they're for 2A rights, but yet they'll just sit there and literally help water down stuff at the last minute every single time, like they did with in 2022 with constitutional carry, where it should have been a much better law than it is right now in the books. That's why we have the Freedom to Carry Act going through the General Assembly right now, is what it is there. That would actually make it better. And the entire point of the matter is you have these fuckers that'll come by and make shady-ass backdoor deals with random state lawmakers in the last, 40 to 72 hours of a bill going through the General Assembly there before the last votes and stuff like that. And then they'll switch it up and get it to be concurred through the State House and the State Senate in the same day. And it'll go into law and go to the governor's, well, it won't go to law, go to the governor's desk for being signed to laws, what it is there. And then eventually the governor will either sign it or he'll wait 10 days and just let it become law on its own, is what it is there. Which pretty much is what DeWine did with constitutional carry. He actually did sign it at the last minute, but it wasn't even 10 days because it's supposed to be 10 business days kind of thing, whatever there, which in the state of Ohio, it's really weird how it works because it's basically Monday to Saturday is considered those days. But then if there's any kind of, federal holiday like that, whether it be 4th of July or whether it be Cinco de Mayo or something like that, any of those kind of holidays like that would extend it another day is what it is there. So what reality happened there was you had the 10 days itself, and then because there was I think it was 2 different holidays in there at some point during that time period when DeWine was going to sign the stuff, he ended up having between all those days like that and the Sundays that exist in there too, it was 17 or 18 days this motherfucker had to sign the legislation. He didn't wait. He waited until the very last second he could sign it to be okay, here you go. And it's now been 4 fucking years in the state of Ohio right now, dude, since we've had anything pro 2A go through to become law now in the state of Ohio currently. 4 years. 2 General Assemblies. And nothing. And why is that? Because you have the same goddamn rhinos that have been in power fucking forever for the last 20-something years now, who have openly broken term limits and done chamber jumping to where they either jump from the State House to the State Senate or they jump from the State Senate to the State House ever since the 2014 term limits have been introduced there, which thank God, District 48, where I'm currently living, is no longer going to have to deal with Scott Ostlinger's bitch ass anymore. The guy should have retired 20 years ago, honestly, but instead he kept flip-flopping with Schuring until Schuring died in the last couple of years now, what it is. And then Ostlinger was well, shit, I can't just chamber jump anymore now. And so he jumped out of the race entirely, and now you got basically 4 people running for office right now. You got Christina Hagen. You have this Sue, I think it's Granoski or Gratonsky or something like that. She claims to be pro 2A. I don't know how true that is. This Ed Lawrence guy, who is apparently a city councilman here in Alliance. And then some dude named Gary Wolf, who I've never even heard of. So I think Hagen's going to win the race just because of name recognition alone. She's an ex-state rep here from back in, I think it was the very late 90s or early 2000s, or what it was. And from my understanding, she did some good stuff in the state house. I'm not sure where her record was on Pro 2A stuff or not there, but I did vote for her today, is what it is, just because I was like, hey, like, who do I think stands the most chance of actually winning this race? And I think the fact that you had her with name recognition, that's kind of hard not to sit there and say, like, okay, things are going to be that way. And I know I've talked in the past, and I'm going to be a hypocrite this time, dude. I know I said we should primary everybody in this race is what it is there, especially in Congress there. The problem is when you're primarying people out, when they are the incumbent, the person who's running against them is a nobody, and then the opposite side of the aisle is like the most evil, demonic motherfuckers possible to potentially win the general election against either one of these people. I think you have to vote for the incumbent as it is at that point in some of these cases, dude, which is what happened with Michael Ruley today. I did vote for Michael Ruley, and it was based solely on the fact that he was running against this woman who was in her 60s. She is basically a nobody. I don't think she stands a snowball's chance in hell of winning if she was able to primary Ruley out, even for that matter. And then meanwhile, you have 6 Democrats running in this district here in Ohio that I think could have easily stood a good chance against her as what it was there, dude. Just because a lot of them are smooth-talking motherfuckers that it is there. I think at least a couple of them have political stuff for various city councils and stuff around this area, like the Canton City Council, stuff like that's what it is there. And yeah, I think if it was something weird where she did primary Ruley, like it would definitely be something where she lost in November, what it is there. So if it had been a better candidate in a race against Michael Ruley, I think that person probably would have gotten my vote. But unfortunately, because of the way that this woman was, and the fact that, like, it was really hard to sit there and say, like, hey, yeah, you might be like a local pastor or whatever the case, but do you really have a chance to win? Here's what it is. And with that, in that situation, it really is more like the devil kind of thing is what it is there, because I know for a fact Michael really has done some good stuff in Congress for us. He's also fucked us over on several things that it is there. But as far as I'm aware, I do not believe he is voting in favor of the protection status stuff to be kept in place for all these fucking illegals that are in the country right now, what it is, dude. Unlike that little bitch Michael Turner who needs to be voted out down in Dayton area there. Because really Michael Turner should have been kicked out of office back in 2019 when the Dayton massacre happened, because he jumped on this guy is the big Michael Turner is one of the biggest rhino sacks of shit in this entire state, honestly, dude, at a federal level. Because this motherfucker's been in Congress for like well over a decade at this point. It was back in 2019 he had the Antifa terrorists do the massacre down there in Dayton that became known as the Dayton shooting in 2019. There's what it was, the Bar District. You immediately had Michael Ruley jump on that and try to push gun control for Bloomberg and company, who I'm pretty sure he's bought and paid for by at this point. And right after he did that shit, you had people rightfully turn on his ass. He should have been voted out of office in 2020. I think the only reason he wasn't is because he really had nobody running against him in the primaries what it is there. He's just been permanent the fuck out of what it is then. And again, going back to the whole Vivek Acton thing, like Michael Turner and other people that should be kicked out of office entirely what it is there, dude. Like it should be auto DQs from office, should be auto DQs from running for office, etc. There's what it is. Sorry, I was tracking to see if I could see if their mosquito is still around there. Yeah, that thing, oh, that motherfucker definitely got me good on the back of the neck there, dude, because that thing is swelling good. Probably about yay big now. I would say honestly it's at least the size of the head of the little pointer here is what it is there. Like it's at least that big. Around maybe even bigger than that. Actually, if I had to guesstimate, I would say touching on it. Ooh, did it give me twice? Ooh, it did give me twice. That's what I'm feeling then. Yeah. So now, ooh, yeah. So it got me like right where my neck is there. It got me on there. And it's like right on the very top of the shoulder blade area. It got me again. So yeah, the smaller one is probably at least the size of this thing. The larger one is probably almost the size of the bar on this remote. Here's what it is. So, fucking bastards. God, I hate mosquitoes. And then it definitely got me on the finger here too. You guys can see that right there. There's definitely a little mosquito bite right there that I'm on. That dirty, dirty motherfucker. Hopefully I was able to whap it earlier though and get it though, but I don't think I did though. So, well, I haven't seen it flying around. I'm assuming it's probably sitting right here on the chair or something like that, just like taunt my ass because it's just able to hide in the fucking coloration or something like that. What it is there. So, I don't know. Hopefully I'll get it at some point there. Hopefully it won't be able to give me too much more of what it is then. Yeah, that's really itching on my neck right now. I'm going to try to look up something a few minutes here to see if I can get rid of the itchiness on these bites is what it is there. I think it's something about, I don't know if you need to put something cool on it or what it is there. So anything else, I'll put like a cool drink or something maybe on my neck and see if that doesn't help get down the swelling and stuff like that. What it does there. So, but anyway, but yeah, Vivek definitely needs to be primary though for sure in on May the 5th. And then Acton just needs to lose entirely in the general election, which really, like I said, truthfully, the fact of the matter is they both need to kick out the race entirely before that's what it is, dude. Because they should never been in the race to begin with. They both should be literally arrested for crimes against humanity right now is what it is. So should Mike DeWine, so should a bunch of the Ohio General Assembly that were on board with keeping the lockdowns going for 442 days is what it is there. Instead of simply impeaching DeWine and impeaching Acton, et cetera, there's what it was, dude. A lot of these same assholes are now blowing Vivek is what it is. Like your Huffman types, etc. There's what it is. So, anyway. I'm going to call my brother back, though, because I know he's waiting for my calls what it is right now. So, I want to talk to him for a few minutes, let him know what's going on, what it is there. But yeah, it's been fun. It's been real. Ohio cannot fall to globalism, which is exactly what both Vivek Ramaswamy and Amy Acton are. If worse comes to worse, I will have no problem enacting Article 1, Section 2 against either one of these motherfuckers is what it is, dude. Because I would rather see, honestly, I'd rather see this entire state government right now just banned entirely is what it is. And just completely wiped out through an Article 1, Section 2 removal than ever allow these cocksuckers to take power is what it is then. So, anyway, on that note, I will be back tomorrow for another episode of Slicey Boy Saturday. I don't know exactly what time we'll have it right now because I have a blade I got the other day that's supposed to come in tomorrow is what it is then. I'm not sure what time it'll be delivered, but that particular knife is one of the big old GTK-IIs. It's similar to one that I've had before that I showed on camera, but it's a different kind of blade pattern. It looks bad fucking ass. It looks like a big-ass machete is what it is. Most likely I'm going to go down to my aunt's place to go fishing in a couple weeks is what it is. I'm probably going to take one of those two blades, if not both of them, with me just to whack at some trees and stuff down there and see about cutting some firewood and stuff like that and see if that doesn't chop through some firewood pretty easily is what it is there. So I'll probably take a couple swings with it and then give them how bad my back is. Obviously, they'll probably go out as my guess. And I'll just hand it off to my cousin who's got a better cardio than I do, and he'll probably test for me a little bit then. So, but anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If I can, I'm trying to figure out some stuff because I've been using Suno this week to make some songs. We officially have a Ohio Patriot Education Network song now used through AI music generation. I also wrote another song about fighting tyranny is what it is there and how tyrants can suck my left nut. So it's a pretty good song, I'm not going to lie, dude. And I've been trying to upload those to our second open channel, but I can't figure out how to do it because it wouldn't let me do it through MP3, so I had to do MP4s. And then they kept banding it through the MP4 thing is what it is. I'm not sure what the fuck's going on with it is what it is there. So if I can figure out how to get it done there, I will try to I will get those definitely uploaded at some point here. Both songs. The open song is okay. The original version, I like the original version that I had Honda play the other day on his chat. The problem is I need to re-update that is what it is there, and it wouldn't give me that same tune as what it is without paying money. And I'm not going to pay money to do edits on that thing. It would have been anywhere from $8 to $24 to do it one time as what it is there. For the rest of this month is what it is there. But that being said, the secondary version I got, there's a metal version that's okay. There's a country version I actually did that was better for that one that I'm probably going to upload there. And then the Tyrant song, Anti-Tyrant song, is most likely going to get uploaded as well. If I can get that done, then I'm probably going to keep doing some stuff with Suno and creating some other beats and stuff like that, what it is there. So hopefully you guys will see a bunch of different AI-generated music on the second channel there is what it'll be in the future. It's just a matter of time of how I can get it to the right format to get it formatted properly so it can actually be uploaded to the things what it is there. So anyway, but yeah, until later I'll be back. Probably not quite this time tomorrow, but maybe a couple hours earlier, depending on when my stuff is delivered there is what it is. And then we'll do a full review of the big old fixed play is what it is then. So, which will be another DC-53 knife is what it is there, which I have gotten used to liking those ones is what it is, dude. That DC-53 steel is definitely very good. The D2 is decent too as well. If I buy a knife anymore at all, it's usually one of those. It's either one of those two or it's like 14C 28N or something usually. Because really, from what I've looked at and done a bunch of research on, it seems like those are the three best blade steels for quality and like price and stuff like that. What it is there, comparing to a lot of these other ones that are like 440C or 8CR13 or something like that is what it is. Because they don't really hold an edge like they need to is what it is. But yeah, there's not, some of them are not bad, but they're not, like if you're comparing prices of like, hey, you can pay $20 for this like inferior steel, that's going to dull out pretty quick, or you can pay like $20 to $30 for like a D2 or a DC-53. It's like, yeah, I'm going to go for the other one instead, dude, what it is. So, but yeah, that being said though, I will be most likely going fishing here in a couple weekends though. And then from there I will be doing some stuff as what it is. So I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Stay safe. Stay vigilant. We're roughly about 70 days now until the 4th of July. And like I said on Honda's chat the other day, I really think we're going to see some Islamic terrorism shit happen on that day, dude, because what better time than to fuck over America's 250th anniversary and have it be the biggest terror attack in this country since 9/11 potentially, which really, this goes out to all the Fed boys out there and the FBI and the ATF and the DOJ and the DHS, et cetera, the DIA, the CIA. Get off your fucking asses and stop Islamic terrorism before it happens, dude. Kick these motherfuckers out of the country. Go arrest the sleeper cells. Hell, go activate quick reaction forces to go execute these motherfuckers in various trap houses and shit like that, dude. And do your fucking jobs. And stop Islam from taking out this country through a bunch of terrorism. And deal with the fucking threat and the fucking problem where it stands right now. Because if you're not going to do that, then step the fuck back and let the American people do it for you, is what it is, them bitches. And don't even be trying to charge us with fucking terrorism or anything after the fact, what it is then. Or any other criminal charge for that matter. And we'll deal with the fucking problems for you, is what it is there. But anyway. Till later. I will see you guys in the next one. Be the sheepdog that you need to be, man. And make sure that your threat assessment is on point. And my best advice to anybody, do not go out on the 4th of July this year. Stay home if possible, or at least stay away from large gatherings anyway. Because if something does go down, it's going to go down at those places what it is there. It's either going to be fireworks shows or it's going to be other things like that, similar events like that. Or these fuckers will probably pull off their terrorism is what it is then. So, but if you do find your way out there, man, like, stay sober and be strapped and be ready to clap is what it is, because you may have to, honestly. I'll see you guys tomorrow for Slicey Boy Saturday. Later, y'all.